He was born to be a legend, but legends rarely live long enough to enjoy their glory. This is the story of the greatest warrior who ever lived. A man who was practically a god, but cursed with the most human flaw of all, mortality. When Achilles was just a baby, a terrifying prophecy was delivered to his mother, the sea goddess Thetis. The oracle stated that her son would die a violent death in a great war. Terrified of losing him, Thetis took the infant to the underworld. She carried him to the banks of the River Styx, the dark, toxic river that separated the living from the dead. It was said that any mortal who bathed in its waters would become invulnerable, a living weapon that no blade could pierce. Holding him upside down by his tiny heel, she submerged him into the black, magical current. But she made one fatal mistake. The heel where her fingers held him never touched the water. He was almost immortal. Almost. As Achilles grew, his supernatural speed, strength, and beauty became unmatched. He was trained by Chiron, the ancient centaur, in the secluded mountains of Greece. He learned to fight like a demon and think like a general, but destiny was already hunting him. When the Trojan War erupted, the Greek kings knew they could not conquer the massive walls of Troy without Achilles. Thetis, still trying to save her son, hid him, but the kings found him. Before he left, his mother revealed the full truth of the prophecy. He had two paths. Option 1, stay home, avoid the war, and live a long, peaceful life. But if he did, his name would fade into the dust of time. Option 2, sail to Troy and fight. He would win eternal glory. Men would sing his name for thousands of years, but he would die on the battlefield and never see his home again. For a man like Achilles, there was no real choice. He chose glory. He chose to die young. When the Greek ships crashed against the shores of Troy, Achilles was the first to touch the sand, wearing gleaming bronze armor, moving with a speed that defied human limits. He was an angel of death. For 9 long years, the war raged. Achilles and his elite soldiers, the Myrmidons, brought the Trojans to their knees time and time again. No weapon could scratch him. Swords shattered against his skin. Arrows bounced off his chest. But the greatest threat to Achilles wasn't the Trojan army. It was his own pride. After a bitter insult from Agamemnon, the greedy king of the Greeks, Achilles refused to fight. He retreated to his tent and watched in cold silence as his own allies were slaughtered by the Trojans. Without Achilles, the Greek army was being pushed into the sea. The Trojans, led by their noble Prince Hector, were winning. Seeing the absolute destruction of their army, Patroclus, the closest and most beloved companion of Achilles, begged him to fight. When Achilles refused, Patroclus made a desperate decision. He put on Achilles' golden armor and ran into battle, pretending to be the invincible warrior to scare the Trojans. It worked until Prince Hector confronted him. Thinking he was fighting Achilles, Hector struck a fatal blow, killing Patroclus. When the news reached Achilles, his world collapsed. His scream of pure agony echoed across the entire ocean. The stoic warrior died that day. What replaced him was a monster fueled by pure, uncontrollable rage. His mother, hearing his cries, had the god of fire, Hephaestus, forge him a new, divine set of armor. An armor woven with the magic of the gods. Achilles put on the dark bronze helmet. He wasn't going to war anymore. He was going to an execution. The Trojan army fled behind their massive walls when they saw him coming. The massive bronze gates of Troy slammed shut, echoing like thunder. Only one man stayed outside. Prince Hector. Hector was brave. He knew the prophecy. He knew he was standing before the angel of death. But he stood his ground to protect his city. The silence on the battlefield was deafening. Achilles stared at him with dead eyes. No words were spoken. None were needed. The duel began. It was not a fight. It was a brutal execution. Hector fought with everything he had, his silver armor flashing in the sun. But he was fighting a force of nature. Achilles moved with terrifying precision. With a swift, brutal strike, Achilles drove his spear through Hector's throat. The Prince of Troy collapsed into the dust. But for Achilles, revenge wasn't enough. His heart was still poisoned with rage. In a shocking act of disrespect, Achilles tied Hector's broken body to his chariot. He whipped his black horses and dragged the prince through the dirt for days. Hector's family watched from the walls, crying out in absolute horror. The gods watched in disgust. Achilles had crossed the line from hero to monster. His time was up. During the final siege of Troy, Achilles fought his way through the city gates like an unstoppable force of destruction. Fire and smoke consumed the city. The Trojan army couldn't stop it, but the gods could. The god Apollo descended from the heavens, disgusted by the slaughter. He found Prince Paris, a cowardly archer, hiding in the smoke, trembling with fear. Apollo stood behind him, guiding his bow. He made sure the arrow flew true. The poisoned arrow sliced through the dark smoke and struck the only place on Achilles' body that was still mortal, his heel. The invincible warrior stopped. The poison burned through his veins. He fell to his knees. The great Achilles took his final breath. The greatest hero in history died in the dust of a foreign land, just as the prophecy foretold. His body was burned on a massive funeral pyre on the beach. He didn't live a long life, but he chose glory. And thousands of years later, we are still speaking his name.